The International Football Association Board is responsible for maintaining, regulating, and updating the laws that govern the sport of football. These laws contain everything from what counts as a foul, to what offsides is, and to every other rule present within the game. One of these laws, Law 3, describes rules regarding the players themselves. The law contains a ruling which states that the minimum number of players actually needed to play a game of football is 7. To the common football fan, this sounds like a minute rule. Football is always played with 11 players. There's no way a team can drop down to 6 players in the middle of a match. Right?
By my reckoning, there are too few players on the Sheffield United team for the game to complete. Referee Eddie Wolstenholme has been forced to call the game off or abandon it at least.
This story begins during the game on March 10th, 2001. Sheffield United host Nottingham Forest in an English First Division match. Nottingham midfielder Andy Johnson and Sheffield midfielder George Santos make a challenge for the ball. The two collide and Santos comes out with a nasty concussion. Santos would come out of the challenge with fractures in his eye socket as well. Santos was angry. Santos even thought about taking legal action against Johnson for this challenge. Johnson would immediately laugh off these claims, stating that the injury was Santos' own fault. For a full year, this rivalry between Johnson and Santos will be buried under the blanket of football. However, 1 year later, Johnson would meet Santos again after transferring to West Bromwich Albion.
Warnock pulled George on the Wednesday and said, "Look, I ain't playing you, I'm releasing you at the end of the season, you're not playing." He said, "But I'll put you on the bench and I'll give you enough time to go on and do him."
West Bromwich Albion and Sheffield United would play their first fixture against each other as part of the 2001-2002 English First Division season. This match saw Sheffield United come out victorious after a last-second goal from Carl Asaba. Despite one send-off, this game was pretty much normal and forgettable in the grand scheme of English football. The next time these two teams would meet would prove to be the complete opposite. March 16th, 2002. West Bromwich Albion takes a trip down to Bromwich Lane, the home of Sheffield United. The end of the season is fast approaching, and both teams are looking to cash in 3 more points if either of them can get a win. West Bromwich Albion are currently riding high in the English First Division, all the way up into 3rd place, with 67 total points. West Brom was hoping to continue to rack up points to lock in promotion to the Premier League. For Sheffield, it's a different story. Sheffield were all the way in 15th place, with 50 points. While the season hasn't gone smooth for them, they are at least safe from the relegation zone. As the two teams enter the pitch to begin the game, center referee Eddie Wolstenholme and his crew do as well. Wolstenholme walks up to the center and blows the whistle to start the match, blissfully unaware of the hellhole this game would become.
Misjudgment and a real chance for Dobie, and that's a handball outside the area, of which there is no question, and I wonder if a red card is on its way. It is, and the fixture, which seems to have a sending off every single time it's played, has another.
After only 9 minutes of game time, Wolstenholme is forced to jump into action. Goalkeeper Simon Tracy of Sheffield United denies an obvious goal-scoring opportunity by handling the ball outside of the penalty area. Tracy sees red, and Sheffield are already down to 10 men. Sheffield manager Neil Warnock subs in his backup goalkeeper for his striker. This would be the first of 3 allotted subs that Sheffield has in the game. The ensuing free kick would go nowhere, and the game continues at 0-0, until 9 minutes later. In the 18th minute, Andy Johnson and Scott Dobie start a blistering attack downfield. Johnson crosses it to Dobie, who scores off of a brilliant header to put West Brom up 1-0. With a 1-goal lead and Sheffield already down to 10 men, West Bromwich look poised to win this match. Shortly after, Wolstenholme talks with Warnock regarding conduct towards the 4th official. Nothing would come out of this, and the game would proceed as usual. Sheffield would struggle throughout the game to score. Multiple opportunities come and go, but nothing can come out of their attacks. The West Bromwich defense is holding up, and holding up well. Sheffield are able to hold up the score when the first half ends. It is currently 1-0, and Sheffield are down to 10 men. At the beginning of the second half, Sheffield stops an attack from West Brom by booting the ball into the stands. West Brom now have a corner. Derek McInnes one-times a screamer into the back of the net, making the game 2-0 in favor of West Brom. If Warnock wants to get Sheffield back into this game, he needs to start taking some risk. He needs to pull anything he can out of his pocket to make sure that Sheffield even has the slightest chance of getting some points in this game. Warnock quickly hatches a plan. His plan is to utilize his 2 remaining subs to give his team some fresh lungs. One of these subs is Patrick Sufo, and the other
Santos introduced, and interestingly, there's a bit of history between he and Andy Johnson of West Bromwich Albion.
Santos, the man who wants nothing more but to see midfielder Andy Johnson dead on the pitch. It's as if fate has come full circle for Santos. Right here, right now, a full year later, the two are back on the pitch. It only takes 3 minutes for Santos to get him.
Santos and Johnson now do collide, and it was a hefty challenge, and I had been telling you about that little running battle that may be in the mind of Jorge Santos, and would you believe it, Jorge Santos has been sent off. And has the referee sent off Patrick Sufo? It looked as though he's gone as well now. Would you believe it? 2 substitutes brought on have just been sent off within, 90 seconds of entering the field.
Wolstenholme shows both Sufo and Santos straight red. After only 3 minutes of playing time, Warnock's subs have been sent off. Better yet, remember that each team only has 3 substitutions. This means that Warnock can no longer sub any player out of the game if he so needs to. Sheffield, at this point, know that they are practically doomed for a loss, so instead of actually trying to win, the Sheffield players basically just decide to kill McInnes for the next 10 minutes. Brown mishandles the ball and drags McInnes down to the ground, with plenty of space in midfield to make a promising attack. Instead of getting his second yellow, Wolstenholme oddly only gives Brown a talking to, and Brown is set free. Andy Johnson, after getting fouled by Santos, can no longer play and is immediately subbed off by West Brom. After this substitution, it's Sheffield defender Keith Curl's turn to join in on the fun. During a challenge, he basically throws a punch at McInnes and kicks him to the ground, then proceeds to get up and act like he did nothing wrong. An act like this would clearly be a straight red as well. However, Curl only sees yellow. Wolstenholme did not miss these calls. Instead, it was an intentional attempt to do whatever he can to allow the game to continue as normal. Wolstenholme was fully aware of the fact that sending both of these players off would drop Sheffield down to 6 players, forcing him to abandon the match. If this game is abandoned, there's no guarantee that West Brom will get the 3 points that they rightfully deserve. Wolstenholme wants to end this game now, and not in a league office. At the 77th minute, Dobie strikes again, putting West Brom up by 3. Wolstenholme has 13 minutes to make sure that this game can actually end. But fate has other plans for both Sheffield and West Brom. In the 79th minute, Michael Brown, already on thin ice at this point, begins to limp off the pitch. Brown has sustained a suspected groin injury and cannot continue to play. Again, Sheffield has no substitutes. No one can come in for Brown at this moment. Brown's departure means that the team is now down to 7 players, the minimum amount allowed under the official laws of the game. Then, in the 82nd minute, it happens.
And now Sheffield United have another man down in agony. Looks like Ullathorne is in a heap. If he can't continue, well, one wonders if the game could even complete. There are too few players on the Sheffield United team for the game to complete.
This is the first and only time a match had to be abandoned through the implementation of Law 3 in English football. Again, English football had never seen this event take place before. West Brom manager Gary Megson was infuriated at Sheffield's behavior. He was also infuriated at the potential that his team would have to finish the last 8 minutes of the game. Megson even threatened to send his youth team out if they had to play the extra 8 minutes. Megson also claimed that Warnock deliberately instructed his players to find ways to leave the field, to force Wolstenholme to abandon the match and not award the 3 points to West Brom. While this theory may seem believable, an investigation would determine that there is no evidence that proves that this is true. Warnock actually agreed with Megson that his team displayed poor behavior that day. Warnock also compared Megson's claims of cheating to that of Osama bin Laden. No, I'm not making that up. In the end, West Brom, Sheffield, and the English First Division come to the common sense agreement that West Brom be awarded the 3 points. At the end of the 2001-2002 season, West Bromwich would jump to second and win promotion to the Premier League. Sheffield would only finish 13th. There were punishments for the players that caused chaos during this game. Santos and Sufo would be banned for 6 matches and fined as well. Both of them would soon leave the club. Warnock was also fined for the behavior he displayed towards the 4th official. The lasting effect of this game was the heated rivalry that it created between managers Megson and Warnock. To this day, the two still hate each other.